good tidings. I don't know if I'm going to open every stream cinematically with even trying to think too much at all. Wanted to sit down and first say the mind can be a crazy place. The inhibitory shit, I don't even know if that's the right word. I'm also trying not to cuss, so there I am already breaking that rule. The self-imposed limitations the mind conjures. I have Just Do It on here because I want to stream in order to just as another medium of articulating my thoughts for my own personal benefit and gratification. Not so much gratification, but I'm gratified in that. It's a very minor point. I do a lot of writing and a lot of typing and talking with friends, but there is something about this medium of going on and at least pretending that I'm talking to someone. Who knows if people are going to watch this? No one's tuned in now. I'm going to upload it and just continue to do this because of do 100 things, and I'll get to that. I've got a few things I want to get to. But on the note of the mind is a crazy place, I have this goal to build comfortability in front of the camera, speaking, articulating, getting used to being seen, as well as, again, exploring ideas and thoughts through a different medium. It may result in more progress, or at least a different kind of progress, which is my main objective here. But the mind is a crazy place because I sit down and go to hit record, and thoughts pop up, almost like trying to get me to not do something. Do this and everything else in my life. For instance, a thought pops up as if there's a critic in my head going, why are you streaming, bro? What do you think you're important? You think what you have to say is worth people's time? Like, it's all these thoughts that pop up that maybe they exist as a necessary self-defense mechanism at times, but most of the times, no. There's no real danger here. And it's because I have a very long history of not wanting to be seen in front of the camera and these sorts of things, and I'm leaning into that because I believe everyone has valuable opinions and insights to share. I believe in freedom of speech, everyone sharing their opinion, and I also know that the road to mastery, the road to success, involves failure, involves making mistakes, and these sorts of things. And so, without further ado, without so much digression, just do it. Theme of me hitting live, and theme of anything that you really want to do in your life. And so, I did a little bit of preparation. I'm going to expand this, and I have other notes, other tabs prepared. I'm not trying to go into every stream so prepared, but I do have a lot of things I want to talk about. And it's funny, when I sat down I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go live and then dig through my mind, my recent memory of tweets I've seen, videos, certain articles, and just start piecing together things. And then I ended up doing a lot of pre-stream pulling up of such and directing where I want to go with this, which is none of the 100 topics and things that I've previously written that I want to stream about. It's just, yet another thing. It's so hard for me to just tackle my to-do list sometimes because every single day, every single hour, there's just something new. Let's lean into this. And also, this is a bit of a strategy change where I wanted to do this at night after my day's work was done, but I went walking the dogs and these ideas started popping up. And I'm not afraid to lose them per se, but I do feel the need to act immediately on them. Whether I'm taking a shower, it's kind of hard to go live taking a shower. I mean, it's not hard. I could do it. Whether I'm walking in the park, whether I'm driving to and from Taekwondo or the gym, is usually when I get the most concise, eloquent articulations of thoughts, whether new or old. And 90% of the time I go, dang, I wish I just recorded the last 5-10 minutes. A lot of it is internal subvocalization. Some of it I do talk out loud to work on my enunciation and these sorts of things. You know, I engage in behaviors that others may deem as crazy. But anyway, it is what it is. Just do it. And so, yeah, as I've already done for how long? 6 minutes? Way too long of an intro. I still feel this compulsion to give context and explain who I am and these sorts of things. And either I continue doing that, but less and less time each time, and to the point where I don't need to do it. And or I go ahead and pre-write something. I go ahead and make a video that I could just start the stream off and maybe have a link to go, you know, if you want to know about me and where I'm coming from, go look at this. But again, this is also perhaps unnecessary pre-optimization. Why am I doing this? Am I trying to build a defense of, oh, like, please don't misperceive me, like, this is who I am. You might pop into the stream at a random time. You might just skip to a random point in the video, see something kind of alarming, as I might show with this paint diagram and tweets and things. They're not alarming per se. Taken out of context, yes. But, you know, I can't prevent that. I shouldn't try to micromanage that. I'll just encourage you to watch the stream all the way through. Is that clickbaiting? Am I, like, enticing you? Ooh, what is he going to talk about? That's not the intention, but this is where my mind, the critic, that same voice that's the critic, also it does actively imagine how would other people perceive me and these sorts of fictitious scenarios. And it's something that I'm actively leaning into. And I believe it's not a necessary, but it's just what happens. Not a necessary weakness, but it is the active drawback of having such a vivid, wild imagination where I think about so many different topics and so many things on a daily basis. I've been told I should focus my mind and probably take ADHD meds and these sorts of things. But I said, no, I was born this way. No, but really, like, I have these abilities that at times are superpowers and at times are pretty debilitating. And I rather, you know, deal with the lows and embrace the highs, for lack of a better term. I just want to figure it out. I've been doing this all natty and starting to really get a grip on it. Anyway, what are we, 8.5 minutes? Come on. Point is, just do it. Whatever you want to do, you want to make videos, you want to go live, whatever, just do it. What actually prompted this is, well, a decade-long deliberation. And it really hasn't stopped, it just ebbs and flows. A deliberation of my life purpose and what I should do. Because I, on one hand, do genuinely want to help the world, and I'll get into that, like, what does help the world mean? Why are your judgments important? Why do you need to project what you think the world should be like on other people? And these are valid concerns and criticisms. But our perspective is limited, and all we can really do is perceive the world the way we can and continue to evolve our understanding and our perception, widen our awareness. But it's natural for humans to do this. But I am actively backing off from that because why would I want to do that? For example, there's a quote. Well, the one that everyone knows, be the change you want to see in the world. It's pretty good. I think this combined with other quotes like, you know, who you want to be, you have to imagine yourself as that person. Whether it's another person or one that you generate of your future self, imagine yourself to be that person. Hopefully it's a very positive image, positive to the people around you, positive to the world, and not, I want to take over the world and become really rich, that kind of thing. And that's where pairing it with this quote, be the change you want to see in the world, is good because, you know, if you are having considerations of I want to be really rich and do all things at all, pull all stops to do that. Do you want everyone else in the world to be like that as well? And I can see that opens a whole can of worms to discuss, and I don't want to go down that route just yet. I want to bring it back here, because where I've been, all over the place, wanting to improve the world, but trying to understand where that desire is coming from. I think, on one hand, it's natural. At least natural within me and a lot of people, to just want to see people living better, healthier lives with more opportunity. Just want to see goodness in the world. But how much of that is actually programmed, quote unquote, from the movies we watch and the stories we hear? And these are good stories. At least I say it because I'm good aligned, whatever that means. But I'm also simultaneously programmed by such narratives. I want to see good, so I favor good. There are definitely people, who we would consider acting out of bad alignment, evil, per se. But that's the narrative that they've always known. The world is cruel, and you should survive at any cost, get money at any cost. Look at the hand you were dealt with, especially when we're talking about people born in very unfavorable circumstances. That's the life they've known. And so to continue to grow up to rob and pillage and murder and these sorts of things seems like the right thing to do. And yeah, this is a pretty big paint thing that I started. Yeah, we'll get into that. So in general, I'm always trying to make sense of reality and the meaning, purpose of human life. Most people say the meaning or purpose of life is to live it to the fullest. I actually just, on this dog walk, which actually inspired this stream, was walking by a dude who has been sitting on this bus stop bench virtually every day of the last year, as far as I can tell. For the last year, he just sits there. He's just like... And I've had some passing not remarks, but just passing convos. Hi, how are you doing? These sorts of things over the last year. It's not my place to judge. I'm not trying to judge. In fact, I'm always trying to understand people. And sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes it is. But sometimes it's not that deep. At this point, I asked him. I don't know what compelled me. I asked him, hey, what's the meaning of life? Or the purpose of life? And he said that very thing. He said, hey, live life to the fullest. Do what you can. I said, yeah, thanks. Have a good day. And I walked away with the potential, with the ability to judge him as, through the frame of, well, are you truly living your life to the fullest by sitting on this bench every day? Like, what does your life entail? Like, are you really doing it? But I don't side with that thought. I have lots of thoughts that I don't side with. It's just thoughts are running around and I go, yeah, there's something there, but not entirely. Because people have different abilities, desires, histories that shape them. And per, even Zen, Buddhist philosophy, why strive for anything at all? Why not sit on a bench and just chill and occasionally talk to the people that walk by? And we were born into this world with no understanding, and we try to make sense of things. So it's not on me to judge anyone at all. But I do ask these questions and do try to understand people's perspectives because, again, I want to see the world. I want to leave the world better than I left it. And first I have to understand the world. I have to understand all of these myriad cultures, religions, just all the 8 billion plus different ways that people live and perceive the world. And I believe in self-sovereignty. Oh no, I'm getting into I'm getting into thoughts down below. So let me think for a second. Is this where I want to take it? Yeah, so I'll get back to this. I wanted to follow up the just do it. This is going to seem like a big backup, but it's going to lead into what I was just talking about. Just do it. So in my stream title, stream number 2 of 100, which I did 5 back in February, and this is a restart. So I'm on 7 plus. I've also used to stream over the last decade, but I'll get into that later. Visa Con, do not wait, act. But I don't know what to do. Then do 100 random things. The streaming isn't exactly a random thing, but it's just do 100 things. The only way to get better at something is to just do it. So I might look a fool. I might slip and stumble and blah blah blah. I'm actively working on suppressing the critic. In fact, just letting him go. He needs to just go take a walk, go take a hike as much as possible. And leaning into, again, the things I talked about. Comfortability in front of the camera, articulation, etc. So I'm just doing 100 things. And here I am, pre-optimizing. Oh, why are you doing this? Maybe I just need to get this out so I never do it again. Alternatively, let 100 things do you. Which I like, let 100 things emerge. And so one of the many real focused topics I am going to stream about, make videos about, and write a book about, and honestly there's a lot here, is the philosophy akin to Zen, akin to other spiritual ideas, that ideas and energies and motivations kind of emerge from us. I don't want to just leave you hanging there if you don't understand or agree with that, but I'm going to. Yeah, we'll get back to that. And so, a quote on an image I made and uploaded a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. For nothing would be done at all if a man waited till he could do it so well that no one could find fault with it. It's just, there's always going to be people finding fault with what you make. Stop being a perfectionist. I wrote a whole blog about it, actually. Whole blog post, not a whole blog per se, but I referenced this image. Perfectionism, a propensity for being displeased with anything that is not perfect or does not meet extremely high standards. Somehow, I have a mind that just projects high standards and debilitates me for it. And it's been a lifelong challenge, adventure, to overcome that. Or in my words, the paralysis of passion and willpower due to false pretense and expectation, resulting from misguidance or trauma, usually unjustified with no prior achievement of perfection of any kind in any form. A mostly self-imposed delusional mental prison. Anyway, I'm not saying anything new, and this is another voice of the critic that eats at me sometimes, is, hey, you're not contributing anything new to the discussion, to philosophy, to the ethos. Why are you doing this thing? Well, everyone adds their own unique flavor and perspective to the same thing that might make it click for someone else. And also, people are continuing to be born and get older, become teenagers, become adults, and it's maybe their first time ever being exposed to that idea. So that's why everyone should always operate from a place of internal desire, internal what they feel that they should do. And when you have thoughts of, oh, this has been done before, you have to block them away. You just have to do the thing. Just do it. It'll be good. Usually things end up way better than you imagine them to be. It may not hit the perfection utopia in your mind, but the fact that you created it is better than the fact that you didn't create it. And so on and so on and so on. For people that have heard and ruminated on these concepts, nothing new again. But I'm working through it. And I will be watching this video back, picking out gems. I don't know if I'll be able to clip things, But the more that I articulate a thought, the better it becomes. Iteration. And so, one more tweet on the Just Do It. If you wait for perfect conditions, you will never start. Just start. Do what you can with what you have. It will never be perfect or the right time. Just press post. Action is all there is. Doing things quickly is usually better than waiting to do them perfectly. Progress over perfection. Anyway, are we done with that? Do 100 things, just do it. So I actually initially was going to start the stream off with this video. This is in France, Paris today. Oh, do I need to raise this? I don't want to like lean down. I want consistent audio. But anyway. Wanted to just start the stream off with this, and here I am 21 minutes and 37 seconds into it. Because the topic, again, was... Is it my place to improve the world? Or should I just focus on me? When I, and many others who have said the same thing, carry the weight of the world, per se, it's very heavy. It sucks. It stifles creativity. Alright, I'll just have this go and mute it. It's not something that any one person should do. We should work together toward common ground. And when I watch this, some people go, "Oh, look at these weak French people just letting riots happen," because there's so much more than just this video. There's pretty terrible things happening in France right now, but also in many other parts of the world too. Point is, focusing on this. Can you really blame these people just trying to get by with their life? You know, they didn't incite whatever violence is happening, and they aren't responsible for it. That's for the government. Now, there is a measure of responsibility of, like, you're a part of the community, and you should probably, here I am saying you should do something. Who am I to have this authority? I'm just sharing a perspective. We are social creatures. Communities are really good. We should do our best to protect our communities and shape it in a way that is good for our children, is good for society, and these sorts of things. But when there's so much stuff happening, I'm trying not to cuss and trying to be a little more succinct. When there's so much happening, you just get emotionally overwhelmed sometimes. And, like, again, is it your responsibility? Should you deal with this? There's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack. Whether you want to take the spiritual angle, political angle, these sorts of things. So you have people going, "Oh, look at these people not doing anything," and then you have what I just said. And this really comes from a place of me wanting, at the core, my entire life, what I've really wanted to do is make games. I've played a lot of games, but it's not just that, oh, I played games, so, like, I should make games. Every time I close my eyes, since middle school, I just imagine game worlds. Either brand new game worlds or modifications and add-ons to existing games. I just start going. It just never stops. I did go to an academy for 2 years to make games. I made demos and sample things over the last decade, so it's not like I haven't done anything, but I haven't leaned into it fully as a career, because each time I start to, I see the news, I see things that are happening in the world, and for some reason, I've continuously gone, why should I invest my time and energy into creating fictional worlds when the real world's on fire? This is also a strange frame to be operating in, for a number of reasons. One, depending on your frame, the world isn't on fire. There's a lot of beautiful, amazing things happening. People are building new cities. People are building whole new technologies and infrastructure that will supplement the not just supplement but replace the failing systems. And so that's one way to change the world is, hey, instead of trying to engage with the world that's actively falling apart now, what if we build a parallel separate world to just replace that as there's a transition? And the transition is going to be rough. How does one go to the next? How do these interact? People that have held on to power for so long are so afraid of change, and yet change is not only necessary, but always happening. Change is the only constant. You know, these sorts of idioms and such. Idioms. But yeah, I've stifled my desire to make games because, oh, look at these things. And I've done a lot of introspection, digging in where these thoughts have come from. And they come from many, many places. Some parental influence, societal influence, a lot of entertainment influence. A lot of the movies that I've watched in my life and the video games that I've played have very epic storylines of nobodies becoming heroes and changing the world with profound impact. So of course I am influenced by the content that I've consumed. It's just psychology. So I've had to actively challenge that. And then there's these notions of prophecy and just weird stuff that doesn't seem so weird sometimes, but at other times seems really weird. And the times that it didn't seem weird, the times where it felt like, yes, I need to rise into this. Like maybe I am called to do X, Y, and Z. And it feels so good. And that's what led into me losing 50 pounds. That's what led into me overcoming my fear of public speaking, of speaking at all, of working on my speech, eliminating filler words, being able to make eye contact, as well as I saw other fears falling away, fear of heights, fear of darkness, these sorts of things. And now I remember I talked about this last stream, but I'm in this stream, new context. And then, as these things were happening, I also simultaneously started backing off from like the, oh, I need to be a hero sort of thing. So, there's a whole other... I've actually already written substantially about this, and I will make a video about it, of how sometimes we get ideas that are useful in that moment to get us to the point where that's no longer a useful or true idea. And that happened a few times with a few things in my life. And I believe this very grandiose sort of narcissistic or adjacent to narcissistic idea that allowed me to grow in very good, healthy ways. And then that frame started falling away. Now I'm still not so much anymore. It's really starting to fade. I've been working on this for a year. Of this sort of narcissistic, adjacent, subconscious mentality that I consciously not fight, but say, hey, why do you think you're special? Like more special, the special. It doesn't make sense. Be realistic with your history and who you are, and just the amount of impact any one person can have. Save a few people, like billionaires and people who do currently have positions of political power, but look at their families and where they've come from. It's been a very long time, at least in my consciousness. I'm not considering African countries, South American or Southeast Asian countries. I'm just not very learned in the history. Maybe in the last 100 years there have been a lot of nobodies become somebodies. I almost brought up Mr. Z guy. Point is, I've had to deal with these things, and now in the last month, really the last 3 months, it's just starting to really synthesize, I can channel these grand ambitions, these delusions of grandeur, into fictional stories. And thankfully, I mean, I've heard this 100 times. There are other quotes. If you have a dream, don't waste your energies explaining why. As well as... Oh, where'd it go? I deleted it. There's another tab of... You have to accept yourself. You have to learn how to, like, really accept yourself. And I think I replied to it. Whatever. You have to accept yourself, your limitations, and your desires. For some reason, for the last 12 years, for the last 10 years, I've buried my childhood dream of make games. Because, I need to help the world. But like a lot of people said, including my mom, which I already know too, but for some reason I need to hear it from other people to feel validated and secure, and I don't know. Yeah. The fiction is a fantastic medium for real world change. It's a way to, in a way, honestly manipulate people into becoming better people, or into any sort of person, for better or worse. Of course, I'm aligned with better, from my perspective. And so, my mic stand is falling off, and I really hope it doesn't cause problems, so let me tighten it. The more I mess with it, the more that it causes problems. Could you imagine that? Where am I going with this? Am I wasting time with what I'm talking about? Is this really gonna fall? Intermission. Just kidding. Okay, I'm holding this until I finish my thought. Hello. I think I've been talking in circles, 33 minutes. Point is, I'm finally leaning into what I want to do, what really emerges from within my body, my heart, my soul, versus what this monkey mind keeps generating. And I still want to do a lot of different things. And I do still want to actively help the world, and I always have, but I had to first help myself. So now would be a fantastic time to revisit this. To change the world, you have to change yourself first. You have to change your mentality, your habits, and your actions. The quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world," has been with me since middle school, high school. So many ideas of how to change myself, like even step by step, how to change yourself, have been in my conscious for 10 years plus. I have so many ebooks, audiobooks on fix your life, be a better person, and not I don't know if they really worked. Maybe they did. They each planted a seed and watered and watered and watered, and over a very long time it finally grew into all the change that has been occurring in the last year and a half. So cool. Not going to spend too much time on that. But I have finally been making changes to my mentality, my habits, and my actions. And I would very much like to help people, if they want to, because they have to want to first, overcome their addictions. I can speak more directly about video game addiction and some substance addictions. So I should probably share my story, even though there's a lot of other people already doing that. Again, I have my own take, my own perspective. Probably should do that. But I wanted to expand on this quote. To change the world, you have to change yourself first. There's another quote, and I couldn't find it in the 30 seconds that I spent Googling it. If you want to change the world, first change your country. If you want to change your country, first change your community. If you want to change your community, first change your family. If you want to change your family, first change yourself. And so there's this kind of descent from, okay, I want to do a thing, but I have to back it up, address the root, the bottom of like the sort of spiral, this cycle thing that I drew. So world, okay, go down, change yourself. And there's a whole series of videos I can talk about on how I changed myself. What I used to change myself, what I aligned with, well, like what does a better me look like, and these sorts of things. And my daily strategies to continue that, because it's work. It doesn't just happen overnight. Sometimes you do make big progress overnight, but then you have to stick with it or you will slip back. Again, series of videos on this to come. Maybe. I'm not going to try to force it. Day by day emerge, but the ideas are there. And so I'm actually now in the change family and community part. Of course, always kind of changing myself. It is remarkable how much I've changed. And it is remarkable the changes I see in my family and my friends. And now the things I'm beginning to do for community, great. And so maybe I end up helping the country and the world at some point. I don't know. And also, it's tricky talking about these things, because I don't want to paint a target on me, because people in power don't like people outside of the club challenging them. And where is it? Yeah, I want to talk about this bullshit. Like, but it's bullshit in my... Okay, we're going to get there, because it's just weird. You know, people like what they like. I don't want to keep giving them screen time. And then also, I don't want to be judgy about it, but I got thoughts. I'll get to that. I don't have the video that I wanted, that I just thought of course, because I just thought of it. Yeah, and then there's like this thing that's happening and these sorts of things. So in the future, I do want to just go live a lot more often. And instead of me offline checking out these threads and working through my like reactions and perspectives just by myself, I want to do them live. Oh, and so another thing about this Just Do It. I've wanted to pre-optimize me streaming with, I gotta have a website first. A website with a platform of my political ideology so that I have a base to reference to so people can check. Yeah, maybe. And I say this because I'm not going to pull it up. Destiny.gg. Destiny, the streamer, has such a thing, and I thought that was really cool. But also, again, I don't really want to participate. Oh, wait. I really deleted... Hold on one second. I have to find... This is a very relevant... Ah, because it's there. Ah, because it's here. There are these others. Ah, and here's the change the world. There we are. And then, yeah, I had skipped over this, which I really wanted to talk about. Which I will. So the notion of change the world and get politically active. Yeah. Okay, this is why we stream, because we're working on storytelling. Granted, yeah, linear narratives are easier to follow, but they're less... yeah, they have their own effectiveness versus non-linearity. Linearity? Whatever. So again, just do it, and you'll figure it out. So if anyone's watching, thank you. See me 50 videos from now. 100 videos from now. Maybe I'll be just as terrible, so we'll see. Am I really terrible? So I don't want to get involved because I genuinely don't. And like this article says, which I think a lot of people just naturally agree with, when you think of the type of person you want as a leader, it's not someone that wants power. Because there's a whole mess of greed and corruption and self-serving interest there. We don't want people that want the power, but the systems are designed in such a way that we reward the people that want the power with power, because they're the ones going after it. And good people that would willingly sacrifice their time and energy and their lives in some cases to help others, it's just sometimes too much effort, too much threat to their own lifestyle, to their families, and so they don't. And so, just as many of the people who would make the best politicians are those who least want political power. They're not in the game, so they can't win. So to back up, this is talking about you kind of just, you get what you want. And many theoretical physicists are geniuses. None of them are billionaires. Sorry for the phone noises. I was on D&D, but happens. In an ideal world, the people most rewarded financially in our social systems would be those who generate the most shared wealth and prosperity, or those who innovate and help humanity the most, or those who are wisest and most selfless and could therefore use their wealth for its maximal impact. But that's not what our modern economies select for at all. Many of the smartest people on the planet are not driven by money, so they're not even in the running to become a billionaire. And this article goes on and on. I can link it if anyone requests. I don't think I have any viewers anyway, and yada yada. So I have the courage and the heart and the unending desire to understand the world through everyone's perspective, to then find a compromise and mediate conflict and allow people to live the life that they want to, as long as it doesn't infringe on others. I really want that. And I don't have any drug addictions holding me back. I don't have a wife and kids holding me back. I'm really free to do that. Do I want to do it? No. But every time I see things happening in the world that are just so nonsensical and so, I can follow it too. I've been looking at conspiracies as well as just history and unfolding history all my life, and spare time here and there, and over enough time, over a decade, that I can see through a lot of the schemes. I can see why things are the way they are, and it's not necessarily because there is an evil plot to take over the world, but there is some just sensical reason why people would want to globalize and homogenize. So let's go to this. What do I want for the world? Peace between and inside nations. But how do you get there? Let's back it up. I want peace in communities between the right wing and the left wing, the LGBT and the conservatives. Why do they have to be so hateful and vitriolic toward each other? I get it. These are just posing the questions. Everyone thinks their way of life is correct. How to interject. Mediate. Give them the space to eventually, after enough yelling, learn to see that they're after the same thing. Love, food, shelter, protection for their loved ones. These same basic things, whether you're a king or a peasant, everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants to be in a community of like-minded people that share similar values, that have the same frame and perspective of the world, same aesthetics. We're visual creatures. We love aesthetics. We want, whether you want everything to be rainbow or you want things to be very medieval, gothic, because you believe, I'm going to get over here, that we're engaged in a holy versus unholy battleground and everything is very serious. People just want to belong and to have security and these sorts of things. So let's back it up. What do I want for the world? No. How about individually? Mental health. I think good mental health, people that aren't addicted to substances and overeating, people who are fit and active because you're able to just do more and experience more of life, and you're more capable to help in emergency situations should they arise, and these sorts of things. Mental health is, and Physical health is a part of that. And for people to really know thyself. As I've been talking during this stream, I've been struggling with knowing myself and then accepting myself. So to go to this, the most terrifying thing in the world is to accept oneself completely. What you want to change about yourself is always found in what you fear, because self-transformation has to start with self-acceptance. Example. Let's say you're meek because you're afraid that being assertive makes you seem rude, but deep down, you actually wish you were more of an outspoken leader. You can't go from meek to leader without embodying your shadow, assertiveness. Jung calls this finding gold in the dark. The gold in the shadow are hidden talents and withheld courage that you don't dare poke at because you've learned long ago that aggression will be punished. But you'll never bring the shadow to light. You'll forever live with the nagging feeling that you were meant for more. Everyone needs to know thyself. And then with unknown potential here that I wrote, the unknown potential of humanity itself. Things that we used to do that we're only barely scratching the surface. For example, evoking the pyramids and these other megalithic structures over the world. And other beautiful golden ages that we've been in. Whether the Islamic golden age 1,000 years ago and these sorts of things. So much potential, but we're so divided, and it's hard to have such things when we're constantly fighting each other, not collaboratively working toward an Atlantean type future, which is very possible. And this century, through courageous leadership and direction and vision and just love and compassion and understanding, we're going to get there. And so, of course, the critic asks, why is my judgment worthy? Everyone's opinions matter. Everyone's opinion matters. Sorta. Like, it does, but to project as a first world, cis, white, American male, very able-bodied, to project my way of life onto someone else in another part of the world, that's what's gotten America into many of the messes it's been in the last 100 years of, our way of life is the best, let's go spread it forcefully. The world would actually probably be a little bit better of a place and maybe closer to the imagined future of 50s, 60s, 70s visionaries, what they thought the world would look like by 2020, had we not just perpetuated war and conflict and money manipulation and these sorts of things as we have. Ridiculous. Can we stop? And so, our cultures are so diverse. There are so many ways to frame reality, so it makes sense that people would want to globalize and homogenize. But that has its own problems, and I prefer natural diversity and self-sovereignty. Just, please no tyranny and brutality. Can we just stop killing each other? There's a lot of different gods and creeds and religious texts. Pretty sure every single one of them has don't kill people. Can we agree on that one, for starters? That includes Ukraine. That includes what's happening in France, Darfur, elsewhere. So, what do I want for the world? Universally good education, but then that in itself is opening a can of worms. How is history and spirituality taught? And spirituality doesn't even have to be a religious thing, but how do you honestly or dishonestly manipulate the children to see the world? Whether it's, some say just live in the present moment, play, enjoy it as much as possible, meaning is what you assign, just zen, just vibe, just love and peace, which is a very first world privilege opinion. Not entirely. Yes, there are people in unfortunate circumstances that find this and they believe that, and somehow, despite bombshells falling blocks away, they're able to just, if I die, then the Lord wills it, and that's fine. And that's quite peaceful. But there is something about humanity wanting to and properly forging itself, creating its own story, striving for heaven or incidentally creating hell. And things should be engaged, because if everyone zen vibes loves, like, yes, it'll encourage other people to do it, but it also creates a vacuum for power hungry megalomaniacs, violent people, tyrants, to take advantage of this. Again, it creates a vacuum. And so there has to be some people stepping up about it. I'm not going to detail that. It's for another time. And so some say we're engaged in a holy versus unholy battleground, and everything is serious. Everything is very serious. We're here, and whether it's you are a soldier in the Chinese military, or you are a conservative Christian evangelical in America, that this is a battleground, and it's very serious, and whether or not Jesus comes in this lifetime or not, that is what it is. 1 second. And so there are some very strange and mentally destabilizing myths and prophecies regarding this idea, and no one can say it's true or not true. We can't actually know, which is why it continues to perpetuate. I have some thoughts on this. I'll talk about it another time. So aside from this, though, there is extreme hardship elsewhere in the world. And how can I justify not spending my life elevating them? That's not the best word. Well, getting people to want to make the world a better place and relieving the hardship. Relieving. Do I choose? So, this thought is on the notion of, do I go and be a game developer? Do I accept my privilege in America, whether it's karma or just random chance, as I'm here, let me make the most of my life. Why do I have to go help other people? It's good that I have like a heart and I want to help the world and help other people. Why do I need to? Savior complexes are probably not good to lean into. But also apathy isn't. I don't like apathy. But we can only do so much, and no one person should carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. So I can choose, I can literally choose to believe in reincarnation and karma, that I've done so well in my past life that I have all these privileges now. And so I get to live in my own little heaven while there's hell in the rest of the world. Kind of seems messed up. Others would agree. They'd just be like, yeah, go for it. Why are you trying to think more about it? Just live your life. Do the things. Turn off the TV. Stop looking at the news. Who cares if France is burning? You're not in France. You're not a Frenchman. You're not a Ukrainian. You're not a Russian. Why do you care? But this is what this, if you just don't care, it's kind of that quote, first they came for this and I did nothing, then they came for them and I did nothing, then they came for me and no one was there to speak for me. These sorts of things. Very powerful quote, idea. We should always engage courageously. If it weren't for soldiers of nations in the past, those nations would not exist. There has to be people sacrificing, hopefully not their lives, but definitely their time and energy, to protecting goodness, because evil fills the void. Idle mind's the devil playground. These sorts of things. And there's a whole thing on that, whether I want to talk about. So I had pulled this up. I teased it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to this stuff. When it comes to the Twitch front page, it comes to TikTok, what people are actively engaging in and these sorts of things, and why should I judge them? I don't really judge them. I'll expand on that. Let me just finish this thought, and then I'll get there. So I can choose to believe in this, or, and it's not entirely mutually exclusive, Do I use my privilege and power to help, but in direct or indirect ways? Direct meaning engage with the world, whether it's creating or volunteering or creating nonprofits, creating systems and tools to actively engage with these parts of the world, which I really love. Many organizations doing this: Global Coalition, Open Litter Map Littercoin, what Cardano, like Cardano for climate, as well as Cardano's general efforts in targeting the third world, banking the unbanked, these sorts of things. And there's other cryptocurrencies. I'm not playing favorites too much, but hey, we have favorites, and Cardano's tech is awesome, as well as the people running it and the organization. But I digress. Or indirectly, so I just live my life and I can create games, music, fictional narratives, these sorts of things that then other people read and become inspired by, as well as just sharing my own personal real life journey and people getting inspired by, which I believe does have value and merit. People struggling with video game addiction, substance addiction, and just especially dealing with spiritual pitfalls. When it comes to the occult and magic and esoteric, there is a lot of pitfalls. People can lose a lot of time and energy, and sometimes, unfortunately, their lives just believing in some things. Heaven's Gateway Team, for example, these sorts of things. It's tough. And so, again, reincarnation and karma. Like, have I lived such a great past life, series of past lives, that now I am in the privilege and power to help, and I should, because I believe in we're all of one, we're all connected, and if other people are suffering in the world, then I'm suffering. I choose to believe this, and I also just deeply feel it. And that's why I keep coming back to this, of how can I go and make video games and do these things when people are suffering? Which is why, you come to this and you're like, the most terrifying thing in the world is to accept oneself completely. It's kind of terrifying, in a way, to imagine that, I'm actually just meant to be a game developer and designer. And even though I am privy to the happenings in the world, geopolitically, economically, and such, that I should just ignore it and just focus on my life and just focus on the good. And I resonate with that a lot, per VisaCon, at VisaConV, tweeting, focus on what you want to see more of, and don't focus on what you want to see less of. Why would you focus on the bad? You're now giving it more attention and energy to continue existing and proliferating, versus purely focusing on what you want to see. And interlinking all the thoughts that I've expressed in the stream about not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders and these sorts of things. Why not? Why do I keep constantly jumping back and forth? Am I terrified to accept myself completely? Or, conversely, what I was just speaking about here, is this me? Am I accepting oneself completely? Is it actually this? Is this myself? No, because I really want to make games. I have notebooks full of ideas. Gameplay mechanics, entire worlds, cultures with languages, characters with rich, complex stories. And so I don't beat myself up, actually, not having engaged my lifelong desire to make games, because now I have rich history, personal and interpersonal, to draw upon, to embed and imbue my games and my lore, my stories, with real life things. And I want to create gameplay in such a way that has real world tangible benefits. I have so many ideas, and I woke up from a dream this morning with a new amazing idea. And these are cutting edge ideas that I don't want to discuss on stream. But I do want to have streams in the future where I'm exploring some of my other ideas raw, on camera, just, on screen, whether I'm in the Unity engine or I'm just writing and chatting about it, just so I can make some forward progress. And maybe through that, I attract collaborators and attract people with money. So I need managers to help me manage creating my ideas from nothing to something. I need executioners to execute the idea, because I can't do it all on my own, and nor should I. It's also way too massive of a plan, of an ambition. So I definitely need help. And yeah. I'm really talking a lot here. So I don't know if I want to chat about this stuff. The reason I pulled this up, and I specifically pulled this up, yeah, and I had to hide this because it was just too much of this on a screen. Talking about judgment. I don't judge people for what they enjoy. I do implore that they make sure that they're doing things that they really want to do. But in terms of, you know, OnlyFans and women making their bag, good for them. This world is kind of run by money. We need money to do the things we want to do. I don't dislike people for doing what they gotta do to make that money, make that bread, girl. And so it's cool. But then I also think of the viewers, the men, and whoever. It's also men cam-girling it up. Well, that's not it. And there's females and others watching who are in the same predicament of, whether it's depression, anxiety, feeling lonely, and just wanting people to talk to. You know, the whole parasocial aspect of the streaming culture that's happening. I don't even want this on my screen anymore. You know, it's... And also when you're young, you're just having fun. When I was just having so much fun in my younger 20s. Nonsensical. And now I'm older, wiser, more mature, yada yada. And I have different interests, different values. Still, I like to have fun, just in a different way. And so, but as I was making this transition, 2 years ago, I'd look at this and be like, oh, this is so disgusting. Like, this is so degenerate. How would they... What? Oh, it's just glitched. Like, oh, society is becoming worse and blah, blah, blah. Like, I was just a hater. I was projecting some sort of weird superiority. Like, and then you go to TikTok and people are just dancing and come on, man. But like, really, why does there have to be so much sexuality and overt things happening? Like, but again, that's just my perspective. I would like it to be toned down for a lot of reasons that I would like to spend more time articulating as to why engaging and proliferating these sorts of things are net negative for society. It may be at sometimes positive for individuals, but I digress. So when it comes to things we can actually do to make the world a better place, it's things like this video, where this gentleman is talking about kind of the downside of gardens. I mean, it's great to have a garden versus nothing. But if we're going to do gardens, what if we do food forests? Food forests that provide not only more food diversity, but are also better for other animals and other species. And, you know, it's just what our ancestors used to engage in, and they were so much wiser than we are. So I'm going to watch this video. I'm going to go into this notepad, and then probably just vibe, or call it. I have so many things on the stream. Alright, so we'll get to that. Let's watch this video.
The world doesn't need more gardens. We need more food forests. And they're not even close to the same. Let me show you the biggest differences. By now, we know what a garden is. It is a bunch of planter boxes, very clean rows. There's no weeds or extra plants that are growing. Most of it is just the same 5 to 10 vegetables that you see at the store, and it's heavily guarded against outside animals. Now, many don't know what a food forest is, and they just look at this like it's wild. but it's actually something that can be very intentionally designed. Food forests focus on different levels of canopies in order to maximize the food that you are able to grow. You have your trees, your shrubs, and then your ground cover. And this is what our ancestors practiced. You see, this is beneficial not just to us, but every animal out there. It's beneficial to the land as well. As you can see, you don't see clean rows. You don't see lots of soil being exposed. Everything is covered up. Everything is edible, and everything plays a bigger part. You see, gardens, in my opinion, are actually terrible for the environment. Gardens require you to guard it. So you are starving off the native species around there, even though you came and took their land. In these food forests, birds are able to thrive. Insects are able to thrive. You have other little rodents and critters that are able to hide and live in these food forests. You don't need pesticides and fungicides and all that, because the diversity of the plants and the animals keeps the health of everything intact. They require less work. Like I said, the soil is not exposed as much, so it's holding water in. So it requires less watering. It requires you to do a minimum amount of work because it is self-sustainable. And this is another huge difference between food forests and gardens. Gardens are just making you slave away your life for no reason. Our ancestors knew better. They had better things to do than to be out here plowing and hoeing the ground all the time. So if you have a plot of land, then challenge yourself to get rid of the old American lawn and use every single space that you have to cover it with some type of edible or medicinal plant. You're going to be doing your neighborhood, your family, the earth, and your animal relatives a favor. Comment down below if this is something you're interested in. The world.
And so it's these sorts of things that, yes, it's going to be a long time before they really proliferate. These things change the world, and good things take time. Good things take sacrifice for the benefit of yourself and the community and the world at large. So if we're able to share and spread more of these ideas, implement them, and there's a lot, like, okay, yeah, things take money, things take time. Is there enough inspiration to really get people to do it, and these sorts of things? And there's apps and projects I want to build, at least direct, others to build, to make some of this possible. Man, I have so many ideas. It just doesn't stop. And yeah, I'll leave it there. That idea. I'll get to this and what's on the stream in a second. It is a major goal of mine, which I'm doing these streams, working on my articulation and these sorts of things, because on this whole stream's, or half of this stream's topic of accepting yourself, knowing yourself and accepting yourself, had a conversation last night, not the first time, not the 12th time, identifying that there are simply different types of people. We live in a culture where people that do things, take action and do things themselves, especially like self-made entrepreneurs and stuff, they are seen as the best. And if you don't do things, you're not seen as worthy, which, you know, it's like kind of hard to argue at some points, because, you know, the idea guy, there is a negative connotation on idea guys. Like, oh, okay, everyone has ideas, but can you just do the thing? So I admire execution and getting done what needs to be done. And I'm actively working on it, and I'm doing more than I've ever have before. The last several months have been incredible. Last year has been better than the years before. I did used to do a lot. Created a hackathon, founded clubs, had leadership positions, worked as a software engineer for 6-7 years, and these sorts of things. So I have done things. I'm being kind of hard on myself, especially when it comes to the hardcore gaming arc of my life. I went really, really hard in a very impressive way To people who love games, they would give me mad props. People who don't understand games would be like, wow, you're such a loser, that type of thing. But the sheer amount of effort that I put in is remarkable. And so I am capable of doing things. What's tricky is when you're hardcore gaming, it's littered with so much dopamine, visually, auditorily, tactile feedback, these sorts of things. I was engaged with dozens, hundreds of other people, so it felt productive. I'm being social and these sorts of things, but I wasn't actualizing my own games that I want to make, my apps, helping the world, these sorts of things, and so I really wrestled with myself there. I had a pretty extreme reaction on that. Yeah, I'm like AFK splashing rats with magic on RuneScape, just to level up. Completely legit, not botting, no bots here, just clicking on rats. Anyway. The next streams will be better. It's called Iteration. I'm really proud that I've done this for an hour and 10 minutes. Going to upload it whether or not anyone watches me. And if they skip around during the video, they might get mighty confused. But I can't ask them to sit through over an hour of me blabbering. And so first, let me discuss what's on stream. Quick notes, do 100 things. I talked about that. 2, have topics, infinite things to chat and write about, react to happenings. So I am going to go live, and I'm going to go live more often at random times of the day. Eventually, I probably should have a set schedule, but not going to pre-optimize, not going to force anything right now. I am someone who just kind of goes with the flow, and so we'll see. I also have other things to take care of, so I have to go take care of that. Client projects and such. React to happenings. I don't know if I really want to do that and engage with that. I've been watching Twitch since its very beginning. I used to stream before Twitch back in 2011, 2010 on other platforms. I had 100 viewers at one point when I streamed my first playthrough of Majora's Mask and playing scary games. But anyway, I digress. I understand what gets attention. I understand how algorithms work. I understand how human attention works, especially with the majority of people and what they find interesting, whether it's kind of what I showed on screen previously with the just chatting section. I don't want to call them booby streamers, even though they even sometimes call themselves that. Just carnal desires, people reacting for the sake of, just to rile people up emotionally, whether it's talking about geopolitically or just infighting between streamers. Like, I saw a video come across my feed on YouTube about 2 big streamers fighting each other, and it had so many views, and it's like, why are viewers so interested in the drama and conflict of others? I understand why. It's a rhetorical question. But also, can we stop? But also, who am I to tell people to, control other people's behavior? But I see what goes viral. I know what I could do to go viral. I don't want to do most of those things. Nor do I want to get myself involved in things that I just, per things I talked about on this stream already, in this video already. So, I'm just going to go live and chat, be myself. I know myself is interesting. I want to engage with the chat more. As I get more viewers, I want to chat. I want to make this fun. I want to get to know people. I want to help people directly. I want to learn from them. I want to find opportunity to collaborate with them creatively. That'd be fun. Or just to enjoy each other's company and presence. I don't want to do a lot of gaming. I might. We'll see. I haven't really gamed in several months, and hardly any in the last year, despite putting well over 50,000 hours into gaming in my life. Which, so I have a lot of to-dos. I have 1, articulate This is going to come out of left field for some of y'all. Articulate my understanding and approach with astrology and tarot and these sorts of mystical things, which to me doesn't have to be a very mystical thing at all. And I can demystify that, all this topic and what I mean. I think there are great tools in my experience with other people, great tools to simply provide alternative perspective on people's situations. Oh, I never considered that before. Has led to very positive things, very positive changes in people's lives. So I'm setting up a store. I'm going to be doing readings for people. So setting that up. 2, I'm really inspired now after finally accepting and embracing me and my desires, as I've talked about this stream and video. I'm going to make a video application to game design roles because I think, well, one, I need money, unless some patrons are going to come out of nowhere and help fund my ideas from the ground up. I kind of need experience, or at least these sorts of things that people are looking for. So I might apply to an actual role, and hopefully it's 20 to 30 hours and not a full 40. I could do a full 40. I'm going to make a video, and in that video, I talk about my gaming experience, my game design experience and ideation, where I've been, and hopefully, passionately, charismatically, persuading a company to hire me, because I could really crush it. I could really crush it. My best friend knows this. A few other people know this. My parents know this. I could be so good at it. For some reason, I put it down for 12 years. For some reason, I've ignored the call to adventure. This calls for me. For some reason, I've been refusing the call for so long. And so yesterday I said, I'm crossing the threshold again. This one's going to be fun. I'm talking about leaning into my apparent destiny as a game designer. Because there's a quote. There's an idea. What you spend your free time doing is probably what you should be doing for the rest of your life. Spend my free time doing these things. I should do it. I've been refusing the call. I had meeting the mentors of sorts recently. Now I'm crossing the threshold. I very much expect tests. I'm hoping for allies. I know I'll have enemies. Enemies in the form of current friends going, what are you doing? Enemies in the form of this critic going, hey, shouldn't you be doing something else more productive and helpful for society and these sorts of things? Enemies that I can't even fathom. Tests of willpower, of courage, of financial challenges. I expect this to be a more than a month, more than a year process here. And yeah, we'll see. Call to adventure. Heroic. So, addressing the text on stream, I want this bottom section to have more fun and interactive elements. That's just something like, it is kind of cluttered here. There's a lot going on. I got music here, and I'll be playing music. This stream, I chose not to do it because I actually went through a bunch of genres of music and it was distracting me. So I figured I'll do this without music. And also, you can listen to your own music of your choice. And also, Twitch does mute audio when you play copyrighted music, and I have no idea of this ambient music, what's copyrighted and not. So I'm just not going to mess with that. In the green text, good tidings, getting started streaming again. I have endless things I want to do and write and speak about. I want to, 1, continue improving my life and understanding my knowledge and interpersonal reactions and these sorts of things, as well as my own abilities. I want to improve the lives of others directly and inspirationally, as I've mentioned. Turn my endless ideas into real things, as I mentioned. Save the world XD, as I mentioned. So yeah, I want to play with what I can do with on-stream elements. And I wonder, too, if people don't want to chat because it's going to appear on stream, because I have it so that chat appears on stream, and so they just don't want to do it, and that's fine. I don't think I had anyone pop in anyway. So that's cool. And then this notepad. Consider streaming on Theta and Rumble and other platforms as I become more consistent. The stream, strategy change. I touched on that in the beginning. Speak on my motivations. Yeah, live gloriously, which is, it sounds good and it feels good, and that's what gets me to the gym and gets me pumping iron, and yeah, I want to live gloriously, yeah. But it also leads into the delusions of grandeur, which I just have to check those individually while still choosing to live gloriously. Verse or with the idea, the philosophy of just play in the moment. Life is short. Live it to the fullest. Live it to the fullest, but in peace or health. Not live it to the fullest of martyr yourself, sacrifice yourself for the greater good. These sorts of things, which I've had. These are thoughts that I dealt with. Geopolitical extrapolation, which I've talked about. And so this whole thing has been about humbling myself, accepting I'm very small, accepting I'm just creatively express and not seek power, etc. Debated having this on stream at the beginning. Wasn't sure if I was going to hit them all, but I did. And now it's an hour 21 minutes into the stream. Pretty good. Pretty happy. Rapid firing. I know I say a lot very quickly. I don't know how digestible some of it is. I'm not going to worry about how I'm perceived. I'm just going to keep doing me, speaking from my heart, speaking from my soul, doing what I feel moved to do. And yeah, good soup. How do I want to end it? I haven't thought, like, how do I end streams? Not only what do I say, do I do like a cool, goodbye? Probably like have Starscape on here. My brand, Starscape. That's a whole thing I need to talk about. Continue to work on these sorts of things. Boop. Boop. Yeah, I don't know. Things to work on. Good stream. I don't want to carry this on too much longer. At an hour and 23 minutes. I thank you if you watched this far. Just save the world.